Hey guys, welcome back. I know it's been a long time since we put a video out, and we're just it's been very busy. YouTube actually sent me an email and said we needed to get a video out, or they were gonna get rid of our contract. So I'm gonna throw a video together today. It's some pretty cool footage. I just haven't had time to do anything with it. Um, Most of it's drone footage, so there's not a whole lot of sound. But I'm going to kind of walk you through some things, some pointers, some things to do, some things not to do. So if you're just getting started in logging, you can take the advice and try it. Or if you're just curious how logging works, you can maybe learn something from this video. But this job here, it's around Barkley Lake. Steep ground everywhere. We had a very small landing, and you can see that these are some really big hills. I'd cut timber for this landowner. I believe this would be the third time, and they had bought this farm, and they're turning it into an RV park. And so it's a lot of good timber, a lot of good white oak, if I remember right. You can see the Timber Pro cutting machine. Tim's in there doing a really good job, and he's laying all the wood out. So if you haven't liked and subscribed, go ahead and do that now. I just saw that. So really, what's going on is I'm watching the video just like you guys will be watching it. If I see something that stands out, I'll mention it. I'll also try to put some sound with it, and maybe it'll be a more enjoyable video to watch. That's the one drawback from when you're using a drone, that it doesn't record audio because the propellers are so loud that you wouldn't be able to really record audio good. So what you're seeing here is Morgan, who is basically a newer operator in the yellow skidder. This is when he first started. In fact, this is the first job we use this skidder on. Tim has got a really big bundle there, and remember, this is really sidling ground, so it's probably a little too heavy for Morgan to grab at once. Morgan is learning. He's also got this tree underneath his wheel. Now you're going to see that's going to cause him problems here when he grabs this big load. He's not going to be able to steer like he thinks. He lifts this big drag, and there's probably 4 or 5 trees in there. He's able to pull it, but he can't get over it. And so what's happening is that the weight of all those trees are pulling him down this steep hill. Let's see what Morgan does here. He's moving the drag. He's not really going where he wants to go. He still can't steer because he's stuck on that other tree. Now this isn't Morgan's fault. A more experienced operator would have probably taken half the drag and been able to make that turn okay. Now he's in a real predicament. He's got the drag behind him, and he's got a tree in front of his tire here. Tim probably has a little bit of the blame also because he's wanting to keep the woods looking good, so he's probably got too much wood in that pile. He should have told Morgan, hey, grab half of this and go, and then come back and get the other half. So Morgan's doing the right thing. He's letting loose of the drag. He's going to try to get away from it and get away from this tree and rehook. I think this video's from April of last year. Still kind of wet out there. The ground hadn't dried quite yet. And, we had bought this skidder at auction, and we had it here at the shop doing some work to it. And this is the first job. I'm positive this is the first job we use this skidder on. So it's a little different skidder for Morgan. It's a little nicer than what he's used to. It's got a turnaround seat, but still there's a learning curve there. So he's thinking, what do I need to do here? He's got it pretty well figured out now. He's got a better angle. Um, I don't know if he'll grab the whole bundle or leave one or two laying. Let's see. But he's facing the right direction. He'll be pulling downhill now. He won't have to steer a whole lot. If you see the tree in front of the skidder, the one that Tim just placed, he's got it at a better angle for Morgan now, so the next drag shouldn't be too bad. And there he goes. And hopefully, yeah, we'll zoom in right there. And you can see there's a lot of wood right there. 1, 2, 3, 4 trees, and 3 of them are really big trees. It looks like white oak. This was a very heavy white oak job here. Not a huge job. I think it was 30 acres or so. Right next to the water. But no, there's really no flat ground. The only flat ground is where our landing is set up. And ground is super soft. I'm sure this is at, all the rain hits right where we're dragging and floats right towards the knucklebone. But they needed it out, and sometimes you got to take jobs that aren't the best jobs to take. But this turned out to be a good job. I don't want to say it was a bad job. Had a lot of good timber in it, a lot of good white oak. White oak was paying great during this time. We cleaned it up a little bit before we left, and then they brought in another crew to get it ready for campsite. So it's an actual functioning RV park today. Looks a lot different. Again, I'll give you another chance. Likes really help the channel, and if you can subscribe, that really helps also. So I appreciate if you do that. You can see that's our landing right there. And if you're familiar with logging, that landing is a very small landing. You can see the skidder doesn't have a whole lot of room once it starts bringing that drag to the knucklebone. And you can't tell it from this view, but there's going to be some footage later on where you can tell that this skidder is just sinking down completely when we get into this. Now, before we left, this was all cleaned up and smoothed out. I'm trying to look. That looks like all white oak in there, so you can see how heavy it was with white oak. We're doing several sorts on this. I know we're doing export. We're exporting most of our white oak. It's going overseas. Oh, this shows you how steep this one drag road is. I just took the drone and got behind him right there. I actually make a pretty good little mistake here. I flipped the drone over. Actually hit a limb. I've never done that before and haven't done it since, but check this out. This drone will hit a limb and self-correct. It's pretty impressive. But just check out how steep that hill is. And there it was. That's a very expensive drone, so really glad that it didn't damage anything, and it didn't. It self-corrected, and here we're going. I'm going back on top of the bluff here, and just see what Morgan's doing now. I think there was a couple more logs there. He was able to grab those, and Morgan turned out to be a really good skidder driver. He hadn't done this kind of work before, and Morgan's helping Tim do some sawmill stuff. I actually hated to see Morgan leave. He was a good asset. And there's Tim, and you'll see Tim, he's pushing the whole tree where it's closer for the skidder to get it. And one of the reasons he's doing that is we've already got one machine in there. He's going to top everything right there. If he can push that to where the skidder has already got the drag road made, the skidder doesn't tear up a bunch of other trees that we're not going to cut going in and getting drags. So it just helps make a woods look a little better when we're finished. Logging can make a woods look rough no matter what, but if you don't take the time and the care to do it the right way, it can really, really look rough when you're done. So we take pride in what we do. So a lot of this white oak, it gets sent overseas for export market. I mentioned a lot of it will go to the stave market. That's your whiskey barrels, your whiskey lids, things like that. High-end flooring will be a use for some of it. You can see it's some pretty good timber there. There's Ben. He's strapping the truck down and getting it ready to go. Looks like a lot of big hickory and red oak on there, some poplar. I believe that load went to Marion Hardwood. That's a high-end, high-grade lumber yard. This footage here, I left this in just where you can see just how steep some of these hills are. We're just kind of panning around there, and there is literally no flat spot except where the truck is. And we had to build a bridge just to get the truck back in there. I wish I could show you how tight the road is coming in, and all the buildings you got to go around. And there's actually, you can see I've got pulpwood underneath some mats right there, right in front of the semi. Because that is a drainage ditch, right, that the truck's driving over. And Tim and Ben and Morgan, I kind of gave them my idea of what to do, and they put it all together, and they did a fantastic job putting it together. But yeah, I was pretty proud of that bridge. Pretty sure I got footage of that on TikTok or something like that. But you have to put the truck somewhere you can get it in and out, and then it's up to you to get the wood to the truck. You got to figure a way to get that wood to the truck, but you can't tear your truck up to get to the wood. So you've got to get the wood to the truck where the truck can get out to the road and on the highway and get it to the mill. So when you're setting a job up, you got to kind of almost think in reverse order. This is just kind of eye level view of our logging site. You can kind of see how tight and how steep these hills are right here. Pretty sure we're doing tie logs, we're doing grade logs, we're doing pallet wood, we're doing pallet material, we're doing pulp wood, and of course all kinds of white oaks. Look how big some of these some of these poplars are right here. Now these are just gigantic trees. I think those are both poplar. Yeah, those are both poplar. That looks like, that far one might be a sycamore. Top looks like a sycamore, but you can see there's literally just steep ground everywhere except where we can get the truck in and out. Morgan's trying to get these big poplar closer to the knuckle boom, because there's no telling what these trees weigh, and even one at a time, it's a pretty good load for the knuckle boom to have to pull it into the bucksaw there. That's our delimber on the right. We don't use chainsaws very often, so that delimber will take any limbs off that we've missed in the cutting machine. And look at the ruts on those Skidder tires. Hopefully you got to see that, just how soft that ground was where the Skidder is. And there's the tops. You can see how long those trees are. Some real steep ground. This Timber Pro, man, it did a fantastic job cutting. Look at the Skidder tire right here. Now that's soft ground. And it was that way every drag, and that Skidder, it pulled right through it. Look how heavy this tree is he's putting in the bucksaw. What the bucksaw is, if you're not familiar with it, it's got those bars all the way across the back, and those are links. So when we're in that knuckle boom, and that's what's handling the tree, we know what kind of grade that is by looking at it, and we're trying to get the landowner the most money possible, so we're trying to cut it for value. So a tree like that needs to be cut 12 to 16 foot, and you're trying to think, how many logs can I get out of this tree? Because you don't want to cut a 16 footer and then realize you got a 10 left when you could have cut a 16, a 12, and a 12, or somewhere in that neighborhood. And the only way to get good at that is practice. You learn the hard way by losing money on a tree here and there, and then you kind of figure it out. All right, guys. Well, that's the video, and hopefully that'll fulfill my contractual obligation. Appreciate you watching. I'll try to get one out again in the future. Appreciate it.